Hello, we are now in Unit 12, Formulating Assertions. Our learning competencies in this unit are: first, determines textual evidence to validate assertions made about a text read, and the second one is to formulate meaningful counterclaims in response to claims made in a text read. Our third lesson is all about formulating assertions about persuasive and argumentative text. In this lesson, we have specific objectives. First, it is to identify the assertion presented by the author in a persuasive or argumentative text and formulate assertions about a persuasive and argumentative text. Before we will proceed to our discussion, let's have a review first. What are the similarities and differences of argumentative and persuasive text? So we learned in our past discussions that argumentative writing is that you are just sharing your conviction about a certain topic and let the audience agree or not. But while in persuasive writing, the goal here is that to get your reader agree with you or your point of view in a particular topic. And additional is that argumentative essay or writing is based on logic and reasoning, while persuasive essay is all about emotion and personal opinions. Here is a question that needs to be answered as we go through with our discussion. What is the best way to substantiate your assertions? Persuasive texts like advertisements, campaign speeches, and persuasive essays have assertions that are not always backed up by evidence, while argumentative texts have assertions that are supported by evidence like facts, statistics, and examples. Also, they present opposing arguments and rebuttals for those arguments. Here are the guide questions you can ask yourself as you read persuasive and argumentative text. First, what is the author's purpose? Second, what is the main assertion in the text? Third, what evidence does the author cite to support the main assertion? Fourth, how substantial is the evidence presented? Fifth, how is the information in the text organized? Sixth, is the author's main assertion convincing? Why or why not? Seventh, do you agree with the author's main assertion? Why or why not? And the last question is the concluding statement strong enough to win the readers? So by answering the questions, you can formulate your own assertions about those kinds of text. Okay, let's read a sample text. Providing internet connection for students should be a mandatory requirement before a school is allowed to operate. With the rise of many technological advancements, academic institutions should prepare their students with the competencies necessary for them to thrive in the culture of the society they live in. Since this generation's society is technology dependent, students should be well equipped on how to use this internet to their advantage. Many advanced countries in Asia like Japan, Singapore, and Malaysia acquaint their students with the internet and how they can best use it. With this knowledge, even elementary students in some of the top Asian countries were able to create inventions that proved to be beneficial to their society. Some of the amazing inventions brought about by the early exposure of kids to the internet include a DIY braille printer, a pedal-powered washing machine, and a dementia patient wonder warning device. While there are people who would argue that installing internet in the schools for students to use can be costly, the benefits far outweigh its cost. Therefore, schools should make it a point to provide internet connection for their students' use. The sample text is a persuasive paragraph that discusses the importance of accessible internet connection in schools. With school administrators and teachers as the author's primary target audience, the paragraph's purpose is to encourage schools to consider providing an internet connection on campus for the students. Furthermore, The text also encourages its readers to acquaint students with the use of the internet, which will be advantageous to them. The author mentioned top-performing schools and significant inventions in Asian countries that were created with the help of the internet. So in order for the text to be convincing, the author made sure to support his or her assertion with evidence that comes from reliable sources. So the evidence makes the assertion convincing because it provided examples of real people who were able to contribute significantly to their countries because they were educated within schools that have accessible internet connection. Now here is a reader's assertion about the persuasive article presented on the first slide. According to the paragraph, accessible internet connection is vital for school to operate because of the advantages it provides to students. However, I think that schools will still be able to produce individuals capable of making significant contributions to their country even without an accessible internet connection in school. In addition, the paragraph presented examples from countries with high-speed internet connection. With the status of the internet speed in our country, even with an open access in schools, it is more likely that students will not be able to make the most out of the internet connection because they might encounter speed problems. Aside from the speed, it is also important to consider the number of students who will use the internet. More users means greater requirement of bandwidth for the connection to be smooth. This leads to the final problem. Can school afford internet with bandwidth that can accommodate all of their learners? With all these challenges in mind, and with the fact that there were still schools with no internet connection that produce successful graduates, having internet connection in school does not guarantee the success of their graduates. Therefore, internet access in schools is not that important and does not need to be mandatory. While the persuasive text assertion is convincing due to the evidence it provides, the writer of the second paragraph was not convinced to side with the views stated therein. The writer's assertion is that providing students with access to the internet at school does not guarantee their success. This is in contrast with the assertion in the first text. The reason that the writer of the second article remained unconvinced is because of the example used in the first paragraph. The writer argued that the countries presented in the first paragraph are countries with high-speed internet connection, and he or she also argued that there are schools that were able to produce great individuals despite their lack of internet connection. Both concluding statements are strong enough to win their readers. The first ended with a logical presentation that the benefits of installing an internet connection in schools is far greater than its cost. On the other hand, the second paragraph concluded by stating the assertion that the internet access in schools is not that important and therefore does not have to be mandatory. Now here are the guide questions when you want to make an assertion of the text that you are reading. First, you need to identify the author's purpose. The second one is, what is the main assertion in the text? Third, what evidence does the author cite to support the main assertion? Fourth, how is the information in the text organized? Fifth, is the author's main assertion convincing? Then why or why not? Sixth, do you agree with the author's main assertion? Why or why not? Seventh, is the concluding statement strong enough to win the readers? Before we will end the lessons 3 discussion, let's go back to our essential question. What is the best way to substantiate one's assertion? So the best way to substantiate one's assertion is to look for evidence from credible sources. And in terms of presenting a counterclaim assertion, The best way to substantiate it is to present textual evidence and disprove it, or look for the text loophole and explain why this is contradicting to the assertion the writer presented. Now let's proceed to Lesson 4, formulating assertions about a literary text. Our specific objectives in this lesson are to identify the assertions made by an author of a literary text and write an assertion based on a literary text read. Here is an essential question that needs to be answered as we go through with our discussion. Why is it important to look closely at the literary elements of a story before making an assertions about it? Was there a literary piece that you liked because you could identify with an element in the story? A literary text is embedded with messages that can be further appreciated when its elements are analyzed. It is also filled with an author's personal stand on a certain issues during the time of its writing that transcends and still applies until now. In today's lesson, you will learn how to identify the author's assertion in literary text and write your own assertion as a response. Now let's learn new vocabularies. First word is gruff. It's an adjective. It means husky and low pitch. Example: the old man's gruff voice brought the noisy dogs to a halt. Second word is linnet. It is a noun and it means a brown and gray finch with reddish breast and forehead. Example: the song of the linnet signaled that spring was coming. Third word is hail. It is a noun and it is a pellets of frozen rain. Example: there was a downpour of hail which ruined the crops. Fourth word is casement. It is a noun and it means a window that opens like a door. Example: there was a rush of fresh air when I opened the casement. The fifth word is prosecute. It is a verb and it means to sue someone. Example: Barry was prosecuted by the shop owner because he was caught shoplifting. Our literary text today is entitled The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. The guide questions are: first, is the literary text interesting, thought-provoking, entertaining, or touching? Second, are the characters relatable? Third, is the language used by the author easy to understand? Fourth, does the organization of the text make it easy to follow? And the fifth question is, what emotion or emotions did the literary text make you feel? Listen carefully to the analysis of The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. The Selfish Giant is the story of a giant who had a beautiful garden. Despite this, he was very lonely because he did not have many friends. He was also angry at children. He decided to visit his friend the ogre and stayed with him for 7 years. When he returned home, he was surprised that his garden had become the playground for some children. Furious about what happened, he drove them out by building a tall fence around the garden and putting up a signpost stating that trespassers will be imprisoned. From then on, no one returned to his garden. The seasons passed, and the giant waited for spring to come as he eagerly waited for his garden to bloom, but it never came. Days passed, but no plant in his garden bloomed, until one morning he woke up to the sound of children playing. To his surprise, there was a touch of spring in his garden. When he was so excited that he started playing with the kids who entered through the small hole in the fence. While he was playing with the children, he noticed a small boy stuck up on a tree, and he helped the boy climb down. But when the giant asked his name, the boy ran away. From that time on, the giant waited for his friend's return, but he never came back. Many years passed, and the giant was already old. He woke up one morning and saw his little friend in his blooming garden. When he ran quickly to the boy and noticed the wounds on his palms and feet. When the giant asked the boy about it, the boy told the giant that those are wounds of love. The boy told the giant that he was going to bring him to paradise. The text is both thought-provoking and touching. What makes it thought-provoking is the use of symbolisms throughout the story. The wounds on the boy's palms and feet are clues that the boy symbolizes Christ. His statement that he was going to bring the giant to paradise gives readers the idea that paradise is a symbolism for heaven. The story is touching, particularly in the parts when the giant helped the boy down from the tree, and in the end when the boy came back and told the giant he was going to bring him to paradise. The characters in the story also is relatable. The giant is particularly relatable, as well as we all have days when we prioritize ourselves more than others and may not be the kindest we can be to others. The children also are relatable, as they lend a touch of nostalgia to the story, which can make the readers think back on the days they spent playing with friends. What can be a bit distant are the ideas of winter, hail, frost, and etc. The writer, however, was able to establish the purpose of those ideas in the story, to make the readers realize that being selfish pushes away other people and that isolation can make us feel cold. The language and organization of the text made it very easy to follow. It also piqued the reader's curiosity as to who the characters are and how they would help in the development of the story. The ending of the story encourages readers to reflect on their actions. Lessons may be learned from the story, such as the lessons that selfishness should be avoided, that kindness should be exercised, and that life is happier when one socializes with others. Going back to our essential question as why is it important to look closely at the literary elements of a story before making assertions about it? It is important to look closely at the literary elements of a story before making assertions about it because doing so allows us to understand the text more, which results in a more objective and more substantial assertion. Another answer is that looking closely at the literary elements of a story before making assertion is important because we have to respect the author's purpose for writing the text and not allow personal judgment to influence our assertions. And that's it. That concludes our Unit 12 Formulating Assertions. Thank you for listening.